Thank you. Thank you for having me today. For those of you who don't know me, I am Tiffany Wazlowski-Newman, NATSO's Vice President of Public Affairs, and I've been asked to introduce our panelists today. But first, I wanted to take a quick moment to talk to you just really briefly about the infrastructure bill that was passed last year, and specifically NATSO's efforts on the EV charging issue. The bipartisan infrastructure law, known as IIJA, included $7.5 billion in grants under a national electric vehicle infrastructure program. And this was really the first time that dedicated EV funds have been made available in an infrastructure bill. As you are aware, these grants will be awarded to state DOTs over 5 years to implement EV charging along designated alternative fuel corridors. And NATSO really worked very hard leading up to passage of the IIJA to ensure that our industry was suited to take advantage of these grant opportunities. I think, as NATSO members, we agree that we represent the best opportunity to safely and efficiently advance the build out of the nationwide network of EV charging stations. And so we really had three key wins that are going to help us to do that. And first is, Congress determined that state DOTs must partner with the private sector to implement their NEVI funds. Secondly, locations for alternative fueling must take into account the availability of on-site amenities such as restrooms and food offerings. And last, but certainly not least, the administration issued guidance clarifying that states may not implement EV charging at rest areas and that they need to remain in compliance with the federal ban on the sale of fuel at rest areas. So all three of those items were very important to making sure that fuel retailers can invest in EV charging. So where are we now? Since the law passed, NATSO has engaged its members in every state to connect with state DOTs and educate them on what a successful partnership could look like and, what are the best energy policies for our members. We're now at the point where the administration has signed off on, proposals for all 50 state DOTs. We're currently reviewing each of those proposals to determine which plans. We're kind of putting them into three buckets, which ones represent excellent opportunities for our members, which ones are just okay and might need some improvement, and which are the ones, where are the states where there is more work to be done on the energy policy front. At this time, the state DOTs are doing one of three things. Some are hosting public meetings so that they can gather information from the private sector on how best to partner. And thank you to all the NATSO members who have been participating in those meetings. Some states will issue more formal RFPs to determine how to partner, and others will be seeking public comments and opening up public comment periods. So in all three of those scenarios, it's really important that NATSO members continue to participate, that they go to these meetings, that they respond to the RFPs. Now is not the time to kind of let up on our efforts. So we have several people here today from Blink Charging who are going to speak to you more specifically about the state NEVI plans, as well as how you can access the funds and then effectively utilize those state NEVI funds. We have with us Amber Muse. Amber is Blink Charging's Director of Site Acquisition Government Grants. Amber is charged with researching the best funding options to encourage EV adoption. We also have with us Bill Policastro, Blink's Vice President of Grants and Business Development. He has 11 years of experience in the EV infrastructure business and is the former CEO of Yugo Stations. And finally, we have Matthew Chen, who is the Director of Government Affairs for Blink Charging. And then just one, quick final order of business before I happily turn it over to Amber. But just a reminder that this is closed to press. And Amber, I give it to you.
Thank you, Tiffany. Good afternoon, everyone. First, I want to take a moment and thank NATSO for trusting us with your members and granting Blink Charging the opportunity to share government funding programs. And thank you, audience, for taking the time out of your Thursday today to join us on this webinar. The presentation will go over Blink Charging, EV trends, and how to participate in the NEVI bipartisan infrastructure bill. We will focus on the NEVI plan, highlight the Blink Grant Department, demonstrate site assessments and acquisition, and also share this incredible opportunity for EV charging infrastructure at your location. At the end of the presentation, we will be joined by our executive team at Blink Charging. We're going to open the floor for Q&A. But before I begin, there's 3 takeaways that I want to make sure I communicate to you today. You are the holder of the key. Travel centers are the perfect alignment with this initial rollout for the NEVI plan. And this plan was specifically designed for your locations. And although the initial first year rollout is for light duty electric vehicles, all indications are to future-proof and grow based on the heavy duty transportation. The whole spectrum of EV charging, light, medium, and heavy duty transportation needs will be met at your locations. And 3, we want to work with you. We are a leader in EV charging and proven infrastructure solutions, and we offer a turnkey solution with no cost to you. Tiffany did go over our team today, but just as a quick overview, our presenters are Matt Chan, Director of Government Affairs, who's based in Washington, D.C. And Matt joined our Blink team through a recent acquisition of SemaConnect. Again, my name is Amber Muse. I'm located in Seattle, Washington, and my primary focus is to share funding programs for you and your locations. Our executive sponsors, Bill Policastro, VP of Grants and Business Development, and Dave Sowens, VP of Grant Operations, will also join us at the end of the presentation for Q&A. First, let me introduce you to Blink Charging. Founded in 2009, the company has paved the way for growth in the EV industry by accelerating adoption through EV charging nationally and globally. We are a leader in this space. We successfully raised equity of over $200 million in 2022. And in the last 18 months, we've had 5 acquisitions, with our largest acquisition with SemaConnect in May of 2022. In 21, we were named Forbes' Best Small Company in America. More importantly, we have over 50,000 charging units sold and deployed in the United States, 50,000 active members on our Blink network, and 600 employees in 2022. We are vertically integrated and we are a leader in charging interoperability. Vertically integrated includes our complete line of products from home chargers to level 3 units, specifically for NEVI and travel centers. In this presentation today, I will focus on the DC level 3 units ranging from 150 kW to 300 kW. We own and operate the Blink network. All data, charging, and sustainability reports are available to you. Our vast Blink network will find your property. Our vast Blink network, shows your property, and we are also on the universal charging plug share. Your property will show up including the description of amenities, hours and locations. Later in the presentation, I will go over the importance of the Blink network and how it pertains to NEVI and benefits your site. I'm going to pass it off to Matthew now, who will give us an overview of the EV industry trends. Thank you, Matthew.
Thanks, Amber. This is an incredibly exciting time to be part of the EV charging and greater EV industry. Just to give you a recent example, Bloomberg News did a research showing that there's a certain tipping point at which EV adoption really starts to take off. They've identified that once EV adoption reaches the 5% mark for new sales, the rate of adoption rapidly increases. And they project that if the US follows this trend, a quarter of new cars in the US would be fully electric by 2025. In this regard, the US also joins Europe and China in reaching the 5% benchmark. Furthermore, federal policy has acted as a significant accelerant to EV adoption. For example, the recent Inflation Reduction Act passed by Congress is estimated to increase EV adoption by around 10%. And this will be through a variety of important credits and rebates regarding both charging and electric vehicles. Furthermore, when it comes to trucking, it's important to note that 2022 is really an unprecedented year of incentive funding. For example, in California, for the fiscal year 2021 and 2022, funding for heavy duty and off-road equipment is just over $873 million. That's nearly equal to the historical cumulative amount of $881 million that was allocated for heavy duty and off-road equipment from 2013 to 2020. So just think about just how much more funding is coming through for the medium and heavy duty sectors. It's incredible. Additionally, it's important to note that California is setting a benchmark that many other states are following. In New Jersey, for example, there's a pilot program called New Jersey ZIP, and it's a voucher incentive program that operates much like those in California and New York. Furthermore, in February of 2021, Massachusetts expanded its own rebate program for electric vehicles, including vouchers for medium and heavy duty battery electric trucks and fuel cell trucks. I think as our colleagues from NATSO explained really well at the beginning of the presentation, the bipartisan infrastructure law is truly transformational when it comes to deploying charging infrastructure across the country. The $5 billion that have been allocated through the federal NEVI program is intended to deploy fast charging along the nation's highways. In the terms of federal policy, these are typically called alternative fuel corridors, and we'll discuss that in a little bit later. The reasoning behind this significant investment of $5 billion over 5 years is to address the climate crisis, but also through lower greenhouse gas emissions, but also to facilitate long distance EV travel, not only for consumers, but also for the very important freight and trucking industries that provide valuable and essential services to consumers. Additionally, there's a series of grant programs that will likely be announced by the end of the year that will provide a combination of charging both at corridor locations and also in communities throughout the country. Furthermore, the EV industry is poised to contribute significantly to the growth in American manufacturing jobs. This is at various angles through the supply chain, not only in the vehicle manufacturing sector, but also in the production of EV chargers. Additionally, the administration's focus concerns not only corridors, but also importantly, rural and disadvantaged and hard to reach communities across the country. As you can see from this chart, the first tranche of funding that comes through will primarily be for the what's called NEVI Alternative Fuel Corridor Charging Program. But additionally, keep in mind that future years will have increasing amounts of funding for grants that include both corridors and communities. So previously, we were speaking a little bit about alternative fuel corridors, or AFCs. The federal NEVI program requires that fast charging must be installed along these corridors approximately every 50 miles. Additionally, the charging infrastructure must be located within 1 mile of the interstate exit. However, importantly, in some of the states in the West where there are more challenges in certain cases in deploying charging infrastructure, there are exceptions where electric power is not readily available within the 1 mile limit. A little more detail too here about the NEVI program. So the baseline requirement is that there will be 4 DC fast charging stations installed at a given NEVI site. Additionally, each of these stations must be at the minimum level of 150 kilowatts per port minimum. There are some cases in which, like the state of Oregon, for example, is looking to future-proof some of these sites by requiring at least one station to have a 350 kilowatt minimum. Additionally, these stations must be available 24/7, 365, must meet specific federal requirements around domestic sourcing and content, and also must meet a 97% uptime minimum. Furthermore, it's worth noting that the federal government importantly will provide 80% of the funding. However, the Blink company is able to provide a match of up to 100%. This really is an affirmation of our commitment to the industry and to providing the charging that Americans both need and expect along the nation's highways. And with that, I'll turn it back to you, Everett. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew, for sharing this up-to-date EV statistics and highlighting the NEVI overview. So let's take a deeper dive into some state specifics. There are a lot of commonalities with each state and federal requirements that must be met. However, each state is independently laying out and determining their own NEVI plan. All 50 states have submitted their NEVI plan, and it was approved by the federal government last month. And although federal government is funding the bipartisan infrastructure bill, each state knows best on how to accommodate EV adoption and individualize their infrastructure. They are involved in closely working with the Department of Transportation. The states have given us a lot of direction with detailed plans, and we've reviewed all of them. Blink is working intimately with each state, and we've been given indications on how to build out a successful alternative fuel corridor. And as you know, the primary locations are in sync with major interstates. This is creating a very logical connection with travel stops. Here's a breakdown of each state's total NEVI funding. Today, we're going to use California and Texas as our examples, as they have been allocated the highest amount of funding. So let's take a look at the great state of Texas with the funding amount of $408 million over a 5-year period. The state has communicated specific spots, and you can see here on the map, that determine funding over the first 1 to 5 year period. And as an example, we're going to review this illustrated map to the right as it focuses on San Angelo, Texas. This is an extended or expanded location showing our team exactly where the state of Texas wants EV charging. It includes how many charging stations and ports will be installed at this determined location, as well as estimated capital, operations, and maintenance cost. So you can see Texas has really laid out a very specific plan that we will be following. In contrast and alternatively, we're going to take a look at the second highest funded state, California. California leads the country in EV adoption and regulations. We use our intel with California as it is a future forecaster for states at the beginning stages of EV adoption. We use census trackers that reflect population, disadvantaged communities, and populations affected by pollution. I'm using California as an example per their defined NEVI goals. Locations will be prioritized and determined based on these specific criteria. The map to the left is from the actual California plan and highlights specific goals put in place by Cal DOT. Digging deeper, we use our multiple GIS data and AI tools to determine if your location is a prime site for NEVI state plans. This is an example of our GIS data and mapping used at Blink. We determine the charging deserts. We use this to laser target these gaps. This is for a visualization purpose only to show geographic locations pertaining to the state of California. The red boxes are show us the potential locations that meet that 50-mile need to build out for NEVI compliant charging locations. This is an example of what we're doing in California, but we are doing this on a national level and for each state specifically. Next step is layering and scrubbing. We use census tracking that reflects, again, population, disadvantaged communities, and population affected by pollution. This example gives California plan and their defined NEVI goals pertaining to DAC communities and Justice 40. Locations will then be prioritized and determined based on specific criteria. And the map to the left is from the California plan. The Blink team created the map to the right, which overlaps their data and highlights the highest probability based on the state's NEVI grant scorecard. We use this then to determine the exact location and spot where we believe the highest amount of awards would be given. Truck stop and EV benefits. Your location will be on the Blink app and the universal charging app PlugShare. As I stated at the beginning of this conversation, it is important that you align yourself with a trusted source, and with our $500,000 members on our Blink network, we have proven to be successful. Case studies show that the EV owner is in a higher income demographic, and this is the customer that you want to market to. In addition to charging and retail revenue, You're also communicating the message that your location is a leader in technology and in sustainability. Petroleum and EV charging can coexist. Right now, you are making money in fuel, and you will make money in charging sessions. I want to highlight the difference though. In EV charging, the key is that you are the recipient of a captive patron charging their cars. And so, for example, you're going to probably make more money selling bottled water, meals ready to eat, or convenient fast food amenities. A charging session lasts approximately 15 to 20 minutes. So you can see the potential of the spend. People are going to get out of their vehicle, walk your facilities, spend money. The rule of thumb is in our industry, for every minute charging, the EV owner spends $1. This is proven behavior. As an EV driver, I can contest to this and say that as I'm charging my vehicle, I do get out, I do walk the location, I go in. All of my charging behavior is based on where the amenity is and what they're able to offer. And if I can communicate one thing to you in this afternoon, is that Blink is the most flexible EV company in the market. This is our message to you. We are flexible with business models, equipment, and solution. And most importantly, and key to our conversation today, is our flexibility in revenue. We meet your need. So for example, we can establish a flat fixed revenue model per parking spot. And this is really the conventional approach in the market. But we are unique and we can offer a second option with our revenue split from net proceeds. And just as a reminder, we are paying and reimbursing you for all of the electricity. Or we can do a hybrid approach model, establishing a flat fixed floor, and then flipping the business model to a percentage payout when EV adoption has increased in your area. Our economic models show you a forecasted revenue based on EV registered owners, traffic count, charging sessions, and other AI tools. We share all of this data with you so that you're able to make the best decision. So Blink Charging has a step-by-step process. First, we need your participation by submitting addresses to your truck stop locations. Using our AI data and GIS tools, we're then able to identify the best locations for EV charging solutions. We also offer that flexible business model that I just discussed and an experienced team to find the best funding opportunities to accelerate EV adoption in the US. Blink provides state-of-the-art technology, equipment, revenue sharing, electricity reimbursement, and a robust real-time tracking support. We offer a no-cost turnkey solution in preparing or partnering for this NEVI funding. We work with a team of engineers, planners, professional and licensed contractors to install units from ground to commission. And our grants team with over 15 years of experience applies on your behalf. We work directly with all states and our partners to provide an A to Z solution. Last year alone, we were awarded over $26 million in grant funding for our partners. We have proven success to win. The next step will be determining a prime location for NEVI application. Strategic plans include a contractual agreement with Blink Charging, design engineer consulting on your location, and permitting and site plans. And once again, this is a no-cost turnkey solution. We work hand in hand with your team. So before we end our conversation today, I do want to communicate that Blink does offer non-NEVI opportunities as well. Not everybody will be able to participate in the first year of funding, but we are the most flexible EV charging company with multiple business solutions. We offer all solutions from owner operating or to partnering on available grant rebates or even owning the equipment on your own. So our goal today is to share this incredible opportunity for truck stops. This is a perfect program for your locations, and we look forward to working with you. You are an integral piece of the success in NEVI and EV charging infrastructure. And this concludes our presentation. I will now open the floor for Q&A session, joined by our VP of Grants and Rebates, Bill Policastro and Dave Sowens. Thank you.
Guys, before you jump into the questions, I just wanted to answer the easy one, which is will be recorded, and it will be recorded and put on our NATSO website. That's www.natso.com. Okay, That's the experts. Amber, do you want me to read you some of these? I don't know if you can.
That'd be
see them.
perfect.
Okay,
Thanks.
all right, sure. Who is responsible for hiring the contractors, Blink or state specific?
Sure, I'll take that, Amber. Blink generally hires the contractors and selects the contractors. However, if we're working with a particular host, we'll try, if they have a preferred contractor that they work with, we'll certainly take that into consideration.
Okay. Will the rebate be available after installation or only available prior to construction?
I'm not sure I understand that question.
Okay. Could have been.
This probably has a lot to do with the structure of the grants. So it's really not being treated like a rebate. It's you have to apply and be awarded, and then once an award has been issued, you're reimbursed after development of the infrastructure and commissioning.
Right.
Thanks, Dave.
Absolutely.
Okay, I don't know if you can see these two. Are private business owners eligible for NEVI funding if they are interested in investing in their building?
I'd have to believe that they're eligible. Certainly that it's a very competitive field, and there are different factors that are taken into account when making the awards by the states, including experience and the scope to follow through with the projects and maintain the operation of the projects. So, but I would say that they're not precluded from applying.
Okay. Can you discuss how the station is branded? Is it the hosts that are able to brand it themselves?
We certainly consider co-branding since it will, with our stations, they operate on the Blink network. So we'd like to have an identifier for the charging public that it is a Blink charger and that they will be, it'll operate on the Blink network. However, we certainly are open to having a majority of the advertising space on the charger to be co-branded with the host. And we do that on a regular basis.
Okay. Whew, you got a lot.
Okay.
Will Blink bring in the electricity to the charging stations, or does the property owner have to provide the electricity to the stations?
The proposal that Amber went through for the NEVI sites, we will be providing the power. So we have the relationship with the utility company, and we pay for that interconnection, and we maintain that power to the chargers. So we're responsible ultimately for the electric bill.
Okay. Can I start building my charging station and while under construction apply for the grant?
Probably not.
Okay.
Only because I believe the award would be in place before you spent any of the funds, so they could be tracked properly rather than retroactively.
Okay, this one's pretty broad. It said, what are the qualifications to receive the funding? I don't know if there's a resource for that.
Each state will probably provide, or they will provide qualified vendors and who may and who may not be applicable for funding. So as the RFP gets publicated, that information can be found from each state agency that's going to be offering the NEVI terms and conditions and the RFP documentation. So we'll have that on a state-by-state basis and be happy to communicate with your membership those who may or may not qualify.
Okay. Does Blink integrate with any existing point of sale systems?
I know that is certainly on our roadmap, and I know we have a new 2.0 network that takes that into consideration, but we're willing to work with hosts and to integrate their point of sale system. Certainly something that we value and that we're preparing for.
All right, how about this one? Has the Blink experienced any trouble getting replacement parts for their equipment?
On our L2, it is our position for the level 2 models to remove the charger itself and replace it. This way we do not perform repairs on site. With regard to level 3 DC fast charging, we have not experienced a supply chain issue on parts on any of the equipment that we're currently repairing. I'm not sure how that may be in the future with supply chain potential issues, but we have not experienced specifically part delay problems.
Okay. How about it says, can you integrate with existing loyalty programs?
That would be the same answer.
Okay.
Yes, we're certainly interested in doing that. That's the same as integrating into the point of sale system.
Okay.
And we have a very much interested in providing that service.
What about this one? Was there any priority states after California and Texas?
I think Amber listed them in priority of dollar amounts.
Okay.
I think all 50 states deserve the attention to receive NEVI funding and have a complete network of chargers, connecting the country. So.
Can I add to that? Bill, correct me, but I believe the priority is also based on the states that are opening. So they're opening at different times and releasing their RFPs.
Chronologically correct. We don't anticipate all 50 states to release RFPs at the same time. So that's certainly one measure would be as they're rolled out chronologically.
Okay. How long does it take to get a level 3 charger installed and from time of order to commissioning?
That's a good question. So we have level 3 chargers in stock. Then that would then take into account the shipping time, which is a relatively short period of time, depending what the destination is. And then the actual site development time can be as short as 2 weeks for site development. The additional factors that come into play are permitting and utility interconnection. So I think it's not one size fits all, but if barring any supply chain issues, can be a relatively short period of time, especially if you warehouse the chargers and you're proactive with your permitting.
Okay.
It could, just to add a little bit more to that, 4 months would probably be the minimum, because there's engineering that has to take place as well, and construction on site. So it can go out a little bit further than anticipated, and there may be some additional equipment that's brought to the site where we may offer better storage and in some cases some renewable energy components as well, and that would add to the scope of the project and complexity, and perhaps extend the timeline a little bit on the project management and development of the sites.
Yep, certainly. Thanks, Dave.
Okay, this truck stop asked if they want to own the equipment, will Blink consider submitting the application and handling the tracking and reporting required for the grant?
We will certainly consider working with an owner if they're looking to be an owner operator of the equipment. We'd certainly encourage them to contact us.
All right, are you guys up for a few more?
Sure.
A lot of questions. You're doing great.
Sure.
Okay, do you have DC chargers that don't require breaking ground, i.e. portable removable units that other than wall chargers?
I think there's some innovative technology that we've been watching that's on our roadmap, where there is faster deployment capability without breaking ground. Of course, it would be subject to municipal approval as well, but there is some innovative technology that's coming down, and down the road in the future, that would expedite the construction process a lot. But there's lots of compliance involved with these programs, and so we have to make sure that everything that we're going to do on an installation is going to be compliant on many levels, and that would be with the National Electric Code, with also with the municipal codes, and then ADA as well. So lots of factors to consider to make sure that we're compliant. But those technologies and advancements are something that we're keeping an eye on, and very likely will deploy in the future.
Okay, when a charger needs to be repaired that was paid for with NEVI funding, would it be on the owner to repair the charger?
The owner will be the owner of the equipment that gets awarded will be responsible for ownership and operation of the charger and maintaining an uptime of 97% on the charger.
Okay. Does the level 3 charger use storage or direct connection to the grid?
Take that, Dave.
We take care of the grid connection.
Okay.
No, well, I think the question was, does the level 3 use storage, battery storage, or is it a direct connection? And the answer is it could be both. I mean, we do have sites that have battery storage on site, and it's fully integrated for peak shaving to reduce the impact on the grid, provide grid resiliency, also to reduce in certain areas the amount of the demand fees. And then that provides for a more sustainable business model for us once you monetize the cost and the installation of battery storage. So the answer is it can be directly connected, or it can be integrated with battery storage.
Okay. This is a pretty broad one, but I'll throw it out and y'all can tell me. Can you speak on what the hybrid business model includes?
Sure. Well, we have two hybrid business models, and I'll speak to them. Amber spoke of one in the context of DCFC fast charging. For our level 2, we have a more familiar hybrid model where we would seek some assistance from the host, whether it's to provide power or to provide some assistance with the installation, if it's new construction, or if they're doing some type of upgrades in their parking areas and they can provide the conduit and trenching. We'd certainly take that into account, and then we would look to have a more favorable revenue share to account for the fact that the host is providing some service towards the charger, as opposed to Blink absorbing all of that. With regard to today's presentation and Amber's mention of a hybrid model, that was relating to either paying a flat fee per parking space as monthly rent for Blink to operate their business model on your property. The second was to have a revenue share after the cost of electricity. And then we would agree on a percentage of revenue share back to the host. And there was a third mention, which was a hybrid. And in that context, that would be for a floor to be established, so that as soon as the contract is signed and that we're taking control of those parking spaces, that there is revenue flowing to the host immediately. And that number, instead of having, let's say, a step in revenue per parking space, we would then switch over to a pre-agreed upon revenue share. So once that revenue share exceeds the base amount, then we switch over. we found this to be very acceptable, and a lot of our hosts find this very attractive because even though a flat fee can seem attractive today, with very high utilization in the future, we think that it's fair, and we really respect our host partners, that they should enjoy the fruits of EV adoption and from a successful business model. So it's worked very well. And we anticipate, as we get higher adoption, that there'll be much higher revenue shares going back to the host, or dollar amounts going back to the host. I hope that explains it.
Okay, let's do a few more, and I'll put you out of your misery. Can you apply for more than one site?
Yes.
Okay. This question was about the stat on 89% of EV drivers make a retail purchase. They're wondering where that came from.
That's just industry knowledge there. I don't have specific data, but that's across the board with even our competitors.
Okay.
I think Amber used herself as an example.
Yeah, you can look at my bank account. No, there is some.
To add to it, and I didn't mean to say that's the stat, that's the source, but Amber used an example that she goes into the store as well as an example. And certainly, I know as an EV driver, I certainly spend more money in the retail store than I do on charging, almost exclusively. And if we have to provide some stats or sources, we'd be happy to do that as well.
Okay, sounds like they're just looking for a little more info on that one. Okay, let's do a couple more. Do you expect the California NEVI sites will be required to install more than 4 DC FC to comply with the California Green Code requirements?
Certainly.
Okay.
The 4-charger 600 kW standard is a minimum.
Okay, this one is about sending technicians and subcontractors. Do you have a team in each state? I guess is what they're asking.
We
Yeah,
certainly
we
do. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, we have multiple approved contractors that can do work in every state, and we do work with state licensed contractors as well. So I see here on the message board, there's quite a few contractors that are interested in learning on about working with Blink on installations for NEVI. So we would be open to discussion with those contractors through our construction department.
All right. I think those are most of the truck stop questions, and I'm keeping track of all the questions. And if it's a little outside of our preview today, then I'll make sure to pass it on to Blink so they can get back to other people. Thank you so much for coming on and for sharing all this information. Thank you for being a big supporter of NATSO. Blink Charging, I should have said that at the beginning, is a Chairman Circle member, which is our biggest level of membership. And we at the foundation are only able to do these type of things because of you guys bringing your support and most importantly, your information to us. So I really thank you. And I thank everyone for listening in today. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you, Amy.
Tiffany.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Appreciate your support. Thank you.
Bye.